Encoding overloaded. What? How? Like, wait, many things open. I can close these for sure. What else do I have to try and close? I should close. What's this? I should close. Switch. On desktop, I guess. Yeah, probably. How does this sound? How does? Okay, I sound fucking weird anyway. uh, Whatever. Here we are. Uh, Something else? No, yeah. No, I okay. That's done. I can close this. I can yeah. Message. Message saying we might be live. Anyway. Uh, okay. There we go. That's done. Am I missing something? Yeah. I was. Also, probably taking into consideration how the model works and whatnot. How the PNC works. I should try to check if it's uh, going to be loaded. Probably not. So far, not. Yeah, it's working. Also, no. The audio is still low. Why is the audio low? I literally didn't change anything. Did I change positions without realizing what's the matter with this? So mute doesn't work. Now it does. I can talk like here. I wish it was easier to utilize this mic. Why don't I just switch to the other one? Uh, I miss the old mic, the always working mic, the constantly useful mic. Anyway, what's up? Yeah, Mahabharata. What's up with the scene? It works, yeah. It works. Why is it lying anyway? I don't know. Okay. I think supposedly everything is fine. Supposedly, so no, no. Not everything is fine. Internet isn't fine. What's up with that? Uh, it's working. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, uh, I don't know. I guess yeah, we're fine. I guess so. Sure. No, I don't really need anything. To be honest, I don't really need anything else. So yeah, we're probably fine, I guess. We can continue. Um, Please. Someday I should probably get something like a transition or something like that to make it look minimally okay. Minimally, anyway. Um, oh yeah, nothing to really say. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It has been a while, so yeah, here we are. That's the biggest point so far. That here we are. Let me see. Is everything fine here? Yeah. Is it isn't lying somehow? We are so comfy. Uh, yeah. You are. We are good, I guess. I we have to continue reading this thing. We have we have to keep going through the Mahabharata. Man, what a fucking text. I wasn't really expecting it. I guess at some point you forget how long it really is, and you say, wow, so easy to read it through all of that in one sitting, even. No, not really, but anyway, here we are. The point is, here we are, so that's good already. Um, what's up with is yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to really say. I guess, as always, the quick rundown is the story so far. I don't remember. Too many things happen. I think that it's kind of complicated to properly keep track of so many events in this sense. Not only because this story happens, but also because everything else in the world happens. Let's say it's hard. Yeah, something funny is to see how, due to how busy itself the world is, trying to follow multiple narratives becomes a hard thing to do. I think I understand why older people have a harder time integrating new stuff on their life, because here, even if we have this tiny bit so far, this is already good enough to be sort of a heavy load, not by itself, but with all the other stuff happening, even more. A narrative like the Mahabharata in itself, I think that the over complications that it has as a text, the way in which it has way too many stories that are not directly related, but that are like, oh yeah, can you tell me this other narrative? Can you please go over your memories of this event, or retell this one epic, fantastic story? I don't know. I think I understand it. Let's say I understand it as a narrative method, but I think it's quite hard to properly follow. So yeah. Anyway, the point being, here we are. We have to continue reading this anyways. And so far, yeah, I don't know. Um, I personally hadn't tried to think about it. I something funny that I finally realized: how much can you even prepare for stuff like this one? I guess besides keeping notes on the story itself, there is no easy way or easily accessible way in which right now there could be anything to do to properly be always more receptive to the possible message of something. I think I didn't really stop to think about it before. This an analysis in which you demystify what you are reading and convert it into another type of language in terms of what we did last time in. Oh yeah, this isn't talking about the person. This is only talking about this other aspect and whatnot. All of that stuff is indeed interesting, but at the same time, it's also very impossible to figure out beforehand. There is, I don't know, you can go and practice in front of an scenario if you want to talk in front of thousands of people or hundreds of people. If you have to do it, you can train for that. But here, you can't really train with the text. What I want to do is not to have already read what we are going to read in any given day. I think that a part of the honesty is about understanding that, yeah, I should also have my first encounter with what we are seeing as we see it, and that's it. Otherwise, it's meaningless actually to not pay attention to what you are having in front of you, basically. And yeah, it's in that sense, it's crazy. I think so. It's quite funny to see that it is even normal to not pay attention and just expect that, yeah, the lessons, everything will be a flow, a perfect flow, in uninterrupted flow in which nothing bad will happen. All the conclusions are easily reachable and whatnot, and I understand the point of view of that, but I don't think it's truly something along those lines. I think it's sadly the reality of we have to try very hard sometimes to follow what is actually the point, and it's funny enough to do, but yeah, it's not a common thing to do, I guess. But anyway, the point is not to say how common or uncommon or hard or easy any of this stuff is. The point is to actually do it. So yeah, um, I don't know. The I guess I am happy. The Mahabharata has a thousand more opportunities for analysis of that sort than what I expected. I think more than anything else, sadly, uh, when you read stuff like that and when you are analyzing biblical stuff, you have a lot of things that are related to can't not biblical. This whole idea of the divine and whatnot. When you are analyzing that sort of stuff, you need to be willing to take any kind of message as something. There are things that could have no hidden meaning in any way by a mere observer, by an untrained eye, let's say. But the people who get to understand what they are reading have the opportunity to find sometimes even in just one tiny sentence, not even a paragraph, one sentence, one one singular thing being said, full of meanings and full of interpretations and full of things that have a potential way to be utilized as a metaphorical, what's the word? Carrier? Device? Something like that, basically. That, yeah. It's not actually meaning what it's saying there, like, oh yeah, the moon big, like a, or round, like a wheel of cheese. Because the moon became a wheel of cheese, but rather the comparison to understand and to get all the other details also. That type of metaphor. But I don't know. I think it's just being honest. It's just a question of understanding what is being read. If you don't really follow the story, I can say maybe I am wrong with that. Maybe somebody who never read anything grabs around any or not any, all of the existing passages. Somebody who is properly trained grabs can grab any passage that the Mahabharata contains and find an interpretation inside of that. Maybe that's how I decided to not see it. But I think personally that yeah, it's only possible to properly say anything if you are following the plot line to some degree. You don't get to have conclusions if you don't understand all the other things that are being mentioned throughout the way, throughout the narrative and what's not. It's useful, yeah, but at the same time, it's something that I guess not only requires patience, requires a proper degree of interest to find them, and yeah. I don't know. I'm happy anyways. The point was, yeah, I am gratified so far with yeah that sense of gratification gained from having seen many of the ideas that are contained inside of here. That has happened, and that's something that I think will keep happening. I don't know. I We are not even really all that into it. We are only like I think it was 20%. No, not so much. 20, we are probably now 21, 22% into the whole book. We have a lot. We have like, yeah, we have 80, 88. 78, something like that percent remaining to read. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The point itself being, it's fine. It just takes time. But anyway, I don't know. Anyway, it always is an interesting thing to see how, in many cases, it's about continuing. As so yeah, being capable of reading with enough dedication itself is the the biggest matter of fact in terms of being capable of getting anywhere in with something like this that ends up being so big. So yeah, I don't know. I have to say, I have some things that I also have to read because of the academy of academia life, academic life and whatnot. Um, and I need to go through many other books that might even be. I don't think I have that many that are as long as this, but that they themselves might as well be half of this whole book. And I can sit through this. This is very interesting, but I don't know. I think it's quite depressing how we have accepted so much utterly bloated academical works. I guess it shouldn't be all that hard to get to any point. Unavoidably, yeah, I can say or I can understand it in things like, oh yeah, the analysis of the soul or the world as will and imagination and whatnot. Okay, I understand those, but you also have, on the other hand, people like Nietzsche who are like, I don't know, handbook sized. They're not that heavy. You don't need to say that many things to get your point across, I guess. I don't know. It's sadly in itself, it is also part of the reality of having to get academical credibility and whatnot, that many of the works that are out there have to be by default so long. But I don't know, yeah. I also remember even then, in many other works that are not directly academical, but that contain stuff of, yeah, somebody making any kind of point of philosophical, sociological, or whatever, socioeconomical kind of point, also takes quite a lot of time. I think, yeah, if anything, we have become quite capable of losing so much time explaining ourselves. It's funny. I don't think the proper word is it's good. It's funny, but it's not really that useful, I guess. Anyway, completely. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I I was trying to wait a little bit to get my fucking voice to sound more normal. I think it won't happen in not today. I fucking issues. I guess hate them anyway. Stuff happens, and even then, it doesn't mean that we don't get to be here. So that's already good enough. Besides any other problem in life, here we are. So that's fine. Yes. Let me now. Sorry for the fucking long wait. Let me drink something, and after that we start. Also, as a tiny question, how long have we been here already? Um, how much did I do? Nothing. For 20 minutes? I am incredible. I am surprisingly incredible. Sometimes, yeah, I do surprise myself like that. Anyway, I swear to God, compared to my whole family, I have a tiny head. But for some reason, these headphones are squishing my ear. It's so annoying. Anyway, let me start. Let me actually start. Canto 184. Markandeya Samasya Parva continues. Markandeya continues. I will tell you more about the glory of the Brahmanas. The Maharishi Baindya was once performing an Aswamedha Yagana when Atri decided to go to him for alms. However, later Atri of Shining Tehas renounced his desire for wealth and wanted to live in the forest. We already read this, yeah? We already read this. I fucking chose the wrong page. I fucking hate myself. Can't believe it. I chose the same ones. Where did we leave last time? Why did I not save it? Did I actually not save it? It's so incredibly over if I didn't save it. Let me check. Let me check Discord right now. I, I try to have the Discord with that sort of information at hand easily. Ah, yeah. I it was my mistake. There we go. 150 1655. It was Canto 189. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Good evening, I guess. Good evening. Uh, no need to swear. What? Child language? Cannot believe it. No. Sorry. I understand it, but also, I guess, let me try to change the title. I won't remember it, I think, but I can make it a pinned. No, not even then. There is literally no way to make it properly saved. You cannot in any way make a message last for more than just one stream. That's so bad. Anyway, here we are. Sorry. Now I have the proper page. Now we can properly read. So yeah, now I think I remember a little bit. Markandeya Samasya Parava is basically about the stories that Markandeya has. And yeah, I don't know. There are like way too many things that are being talked about. I think we what was the last canto exactly about? Yeah. I remember this. This is about the whole concept of the what is it called? The concept, the myth of conception of the universe or something like that. That's the general category that gets applied to all of that of how, yeah, the universe starts and the end of the universe, in which the cyclical nature also that the Hindus believe in. Uh, I think it doesn't continue here. Let me check. Let me start properly. Uh, Canto 189. Markandeya Samasya Parva continued. Vaishampayana said, Yudhishthira repeats his question to Markandeya about how the earth will be ruled. He says, most eloquent of all speakers, O Muni of Brigu's race, amazing indeed is what you have told us about the destruction and the recreation of all things at the end of the Yugas. Now I am eager to know what will happen in the next age, the Kali Yuga. When Dharma no longer exists, what will remain? What will men be capable of in that yuga? What will people eat? How will they entertain themselves? What will men's longevity be at the end of the yuga? And how long will the yuga last, after which another Kareta yuga dawns? Tell me as much as you can, O Muni. What you say is so fascinating. The rest of sages begins his discourse again, much to the delight of the tiger of the Varishnis and of the sons of Pandu as well. Markandeya says, I don't even remember. Yeah, I should, if nothing, I should note down which voices to use. Sorry. Listen, Rahan, and I will tell you all that I saw and heard. Yudhishthira, listen to everything that, by the grace of God, I gained intuitive knowledge of. Listen while I tell you the way the world will be during the Kali Yuga. The Krita Yuga was free from deceit, guile, avarice, and acquisitiveness. What? Ac- Acquisitiveness? Yeah, I am too young to say that word. But yeah. Dharma was a bull with four strong legs, and it walked among men. In the Treta Yuga, sin deprived the bull of Dharma of one of its legs. In the Dwapara Yuga, evil and goodness reigned equally, and Dharma was left to limp on two legs. In the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga, Dharma is made of three parts of evil and one part of goodness, and exists thus amongst men. Dharma now depends on men, as it cannot support itself on its one remaining leg. Man's lifespan, his energy, his intellect, and his strength dwindle with each yuga. Pandava. In the Kali Yuga, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Sudras will make a hollow show of being virtuous, only to deceive the world. Men with false reputations of being learned will constrict and hide the truth. The shortened lifespan of man will prevent him from gaining true knowledge, and because he has little jnana, he will lack wisdom. Covetousness and greed will overwhelm him. Under the sway of avarice, wrath, lust, and ignorance, men will hate and want to kill its author. With their virtue reduced and without austerity and truth, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaisyas will be like Sudras. Men of the lowest varnas will rise to displace those higher born than themselves, who then sink to the bottom of the social order. Yudhishthira, this will be the state of the world at the end of the Yuga. Flax will be the best material for clothing, and Koradusaka wet the best grain. Wow. In the Kali Yuga, man's only friend will be his wife. The people will live on fish and the milk of goats and sheep, for cows will be extinct. Towards the end of the Yuga, even those who observe religious rituals and vows will only do so to gain material wealth. Animosity will prevail between men, and they will be filled with murderous intent towards one another. Without yoga, communion, men will become atheists and thieves. The land will lose its fertility and hmm? The land will lose its fertility, and in desperation, men will dig the banks of streams with spades and sow seeds there. But even those places will prove barren for them. Even devout men who perform ceremonial rites to honor the Pitars and the Devas will become avaricious and take what belongs to others. The father will enjoy what belongs to the son, and the son what belongs to the father. Men will take pleasure from things forbidden by the scriptures. Brahmanas will speak contemptuously of the Vedas and will not keep any Vratas. Their understanding will be clouded by disputation and dialectical sophistry, and they will no longer perform yagnas or homas, deceived by false teachings. They will be attracted to all things base and low. Also, I didn't know about flax. I remember that flax is like a material of sorts. I didn't remember that it was like important for relations, but yeah. Thank you. And I guess the point itself is, yeah, things that were not appreciated before get a little bit more under the radar. Linen? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I know flags in the sense of like games that use flags as a resource, like very basic thread. That's why I know flags, but not like oh yeah yeah. It the divine signification or whatever else that it gets used on. Men will tillow lowlands for cultivation and use cows and yearling calves as beasts of burden and to draw the plough. Sons will kill fathers, and fathers their sons with impunity. They will revel in these killings, which will frequently become the means of assuaging what? Assuaging anxiety. Whole world will be filled with the coarse ways of the millennials, their ideas, laws, and rituals. Yagnas will no more be performed, and joy will disappear. Men will steal from the weak, friendless and helpless, as well as from the wise. Evil men will give gifts with contempt, which the people of the Kali Yuga will readily accept. Reduced as they are in Jnana and Tejas and prone to greed, folly and sin. The kings of the earth, their hearts enthralled to sin, ignorant while boasting of wisdom, will constantly challenge one another from naked bloodlust. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I mean, it's quite a side story, but I remember that even in Spain, that's like a common tradition. The people who produce flags and whatnot. I know that's also sort of dying because it needs to be handmade or something like that. That's what I understand. In many places, it needs to be handmade, so good quality flags is not so prevalent. What we get to have is a more um, altered flags for industrial production, something along those lines is what I remember. But yeah, yeah, I wasn't wrong then. In the picture that I had in my mind, I very well. I guess I am not that rusty in general materials of the world. But yeah, at the end of the Kali Yuga, Kshatriyas will become as thorns of the earth. They will be filled with greed and puffed up with pride and vanity, unable and unwilling to protect their subjects. They will revel in inflicting savage punishments on them. The Kshatriyas of this age will repeatedly attack the good and the honest and pitiless even in the face of their grief-stricken cries. They will forcibly seize their wives and their world. No one will ask for or give a girl's hand in marriage, but girls will choose their girls will choose their own husbands when the end of the Yuga comes, and the kings of the earth, their souls steeped in ignorance and their hearts in discontent, will rob their subjects in every way they can. The whole world will be reduced to the level of the Lelecha. When the end of the Yuga comes, the right hand will deceive the left, and the left the right. Vile men pretending to be learned will abbreviate truth. The old will exhibit youthful folly, and the young will respect no age. No, what? And the young will not respect age. Sorry. Cowards will be known as brave men, and the courageous will be cast down as cowards. Thou Towards the end of the Yuga, men will stop trusting one another. The graded world will live on one kind of food. Sin will increase and prosper, while Dharma will fade away. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaisyas will disappear, leaving no trace of their castes. All men will become members of one common order without distinction. Fathers will not forgive sons, the least folly, and sons will not forgive their fathers. As the end draws near, wives will not wait upon and serve their husbands. Men will want to live in countries where wheat and barley form the staple food. Both men and women will become entirely less licentious and intolerant. Oh, Yudhishthira, all the world will be a le- lech cha. It's so hard to pronounce. Lech cha universe. Men will no longer please the gods by offering offerings of radhas. No one will listen to the words of another because none will see another as his guru, ruler of men. Intellectual darkness will envelop the earth. 16 years will be man's span on earth, after which he will die. 5 and 6 year old girls will give birth, and the boys of 7 and 8 will be fathers. Tiger among kings. When the end of the Yuga comes, wives will never be content with their husbands, nor husbands with their wives. Men will possess little, they will wear the marks of religion outwardly, while their hearts are full of darkness. Envy and malice will fill the world. Men will not give each other anything. Drought and famine will stalk the land. Lustful men and wanton women will wander the streets, and wives will abhor their husbands. All the people will adopt the ways of the Lechchas. They will become omnivorous without distinction. Their actions will be infused with cruelty. When the end of the Kali Yuga comes, Bharatutama, urged by avarice, men will be deceitful in trade and commerce. Without any knowledge of the laws that govern rituals, men will perform ceremonial rites and then behave in any way they please. When the end of the Yuga comes, the dispositions of men will be such that they will tend naturally towards cruelty. They will speak ill of one another, and they will fell trees and despoil gardens without a thought. Men will be constantly anxious about their livelihood. O king, greed will rule all of mankind and make men kill even Brahmanas in order to have their possessions. The twice born Varnas, oppressed by the Sudras, will wander in fear over the face of the earth, unprotected and crying, oh, and alas, when men begin to kill one another, when they become utterly evil and violent, when they have no regard for animal life, then the Yuga's end nears. The beast of high-born men will cry like crows and fly in terror when set upon by robbers, and seek refuge beside rivers and on mountains and in other inaccessible places. The first among the twice-born will Bhupala lose his fortitude and become a servant of Sudras in those terrible times. Sudras will interpret the scriptures, while Brahmanas wait upon them and accept their duties as guided by these base interpretations. The law will become the high, and everything will be the opposite of what should be. Men will renounce the gods and will worship bones and other occult relics in secret, inside their homes. At the end of the Yuga, Sudras will not wait on Brahmanas. In the asramas of great rishis, in the gurukulas of Brahmanas, in places sacred to the gods, in sacrificial compounds and in holy tanks, the earth will be disfigured with tombs, with pillars containing skeletal relics, rather than graves with temples dedicated to the devas. All these will come to be at the end of the Yuga, and they are the signs that the Yuga draws to a close. When all men become vicious, destitute of virtue, carnivorous and addicted to intoxicating drinks, the yuga comes to an end. O monarch, when flowers from within utter flowers, and fruit within utter fruit, then will the yuga come to an end. The clouds will pour rain out of season as the end of the yuga approaches. The ceremonial rites of passage will not follow one after the other in the proper order. Sudras will take up arms against Brahmanas as the end of the Yuga draws near. The earth will be full of lechchas. Brahmanas will flee in all directions to escape having to pay inordinate taxes. All men will conduct themselves uniformly, and the people will flee into woods and forests to escape from the work assigned to them and subsist on fruit and roots. The world will be so diseased that honorable conduct will not be seen anywhere. Sishyas will not value the teachings of their acharyas and even try to harm them. And men will take no notice of true teachers, all of these by now impoverished. Friends and relatives and kinsmen will offer a false friendship for the sake of the person's wealth. When the end of the sorry, when the end of the year comes, everybody will be direly needy. All the points of the horizon will be ablaze. The stars and constellations will no longer shine, and the planets and all their movements will turn inauspicious. Wild winds will blow chaotically at all times, and countless meteors will flash across the sky, foreboding the darkest evil. Seven suns will appear in the sky, bedlam and anarchy will be everywhere, and the fires will abound, and the sun will be in eclipse from dawn to dusk, in an unnatural, perennial night. And the god of the thousand eyes will lash down unseasonable rains. When the end of the Kali Yuga comes, crops will be sparse, women will speak sharply, they will be hard-hearted, prone to weeping, and they will disobey their husbands in all things. And at the end of the Yuga, sons will kill their fathers and mothers. Women living uncontrolled lives will kill their husbands and sons. And, O king, at the end of the Yuga, Rahu will swallow the sun, causing eerie and untimely eclipses. Fires will burn all around, unable to find food, drink, or shelter, even when they ask for this. Wayfarers will lay themselves down in resignation on roadsides and ask for nothing anymore. When the end of the year comes, crows, snakes, vultures, kites, and other animals and birds of prey and carrion will utter frightful cries. When the end of the year comes, men will shun their friends, relatives, and followers. Men will leave the towns and cities where they live and work, and go in search of new ones, and the people will wander over the earth, calling out heart-rendingly to their loved ones whom they have lost. When those terrible times are finally over, creation will begin anew. Men will be created again and divided into the four varnas, beginning with the Brahmanas, and to make men prosper, Providence will smile on them. When the sun, the moon, and the Brihaspati enter the same sign of the zodiac with the nakshatra Pushyami, the Kreta Yuga will begin again. Once more, the clouds release their waters in proper seasons, and the stars and their movements become auspicious. The planets revolve in their true orbits and turn gentle and benign. There will be prosperity and plenitude, health and peace everywhere. In time, Brahmana named Kalki will be born. He will worship and glorify Vishnu and have untold energy, great intelligence, and mighty prowess. He will be born in the town of Sambhala into a devout Brahmana family. Chariots and weapons, warriors and arms, and coats of mail shall be available to him as soon as he thinks of them. By dint of his dharma, he will be a king of kings and ever victorious. He will restore peace and order toward throning with fell creatures and plants in chaos. Kalki of dazzling Tejas will first destroy all things. He will be the universal destroyer, and only then will he inaugurate a new yuga. Surrounded by Brahmanas, he will seek out and kill all evil men and women whenever they may, wherever they may try to hide. Okay, canto 101. No, 189. Okay, understandable. A lot of conclusions is for the Kali Yuga. I don't know. I have a hard time properly understanding how the Kali Yuga works. Not it's the concept itself is understandable. I think the explanation is understandable itself. Every kind of mechanism is explained in a way in which anyone can actually get it. But I think it has so many requisites and things that need to happen and whatnot that make it very hard to get a proper Kali Yuga, so to speak. I think one of the main notions that I find when reading about this is what happens mostly and what is the thing that gets highlighted the most as bad is the loss of traditions. The moment in which people stop venerating their elders, which has been always the tradition so far in the Hindu culture, the moment in which people stop playing in accordance to their roles within society, the moment in which they stop following the caste system or caste system, the moment in which all of those things happen is one of the best highlighters of the Kali Yuga, supposedly, yeah. But I think there are way too many other contingencies. I think many of the other mentions are truly for a very dark time, if nothing else. It's an understandable explanation in terms of, yeah, we will be losing our main privileges, so to speak. That's so far understandable, yeah. But in the other hand, there are others or other things, other types of prerequisites that are impossible to see that any normal society will end up falling into. I think we have a pretty good conception of how humans work and whatnot. We don't want, I don't know, children getting pregnant and such. It, it's it's not so easy to say that, yeah, we are close to the Kali Yuga. This whole discussion of always, are we close to the Kali Yuga? Are we surfing the Kali Yuga? Where are we in terms of time? Which in which yuga are we actually living? Supposedly, I get many other things also. Yeah, a good observation will be unavoidably that this applies to them, not really that much to us. We don't get to have all of their cultural symbols and cultural players here. We don't have Kshatriyas, we don't have Brahmanas, we don't have that sort of stuff here exactly. At the best, no, 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 no. Yeah, the Western world is quite disconnected of all of those norms, societal roles, norms, all of that stuff sadly is outside the equation, I guess. But I guess a proper observation of what it would be to try and see how one of the best ways to keep. Yeah, maybe this is too negative, but I think the conception of the idea itself of the Kali Yuga allows for a message to be created in terms of this doctrine that we are going to be making is going to have you look like the bad guy if you don't follow us, because what we are promising you is that at least, at the very, very least, everything will remain the same so far. If you accept to help us in maintaining the order, if you don't help us in that, the world is going to get fucked. It's it's this sort of network of people forcing others to do things that create the way in which now, not I don't think nowadays it's that much of an actual problem for people, but it's at least this present notion, subconscious, unconscious awareness of, okay, I need to always be doing my best in order to avoid possibly getting us closer to the Kali Yuga. It's one of those symbols that becomes sort of parasitic in your mind. After you gain it, many other things start to get informed by your desire either to attract it or unavoidably in this case to avoid it. And I think I understand it. In that sense, I understand it. But yeah, I don't know. I think there are many observations to make, but one of the easiest ones is also how weird out of that conversation about the present times and what not is, or not the present, the final times. It's like not only there are a lot of requisites, but also there are a lot of other requisites for the end of those times. It's sort of, I think it's weird, without it. Also, no, wait, because I think I don't know. I feel like I will be doing a bad work if I don't mention it. There is something that I can also feel when reading it. I think I should try to find a good example, but it's like Caligula, Satrias, King, Men, Low, Burden. Here, okay, here. Men will till lowlands for cultivation and use cows and yearling calves as beasts of burden and to draw the plough. That thing, those sort of statements that are spread throughout the description of the Kali, I think those are actually being done in bad faith. I maybe that's not exactly the best way to describe it, but I think they are done in some sort of bad faith because you're stating there, okay, the moment in which we lose our traditional or current way of observing these parts of our ritual of existence, the moment in which cows stop being divine beings and they become just like all the other animals and start being used in environments in which we use animals that, for the sake of our reasoning, are not cows but that are physically the same as cows, the moment in which those things happen, the world is going to be lost. I think it's a bad faith claim. It's more along the lines of, okay, I don't want to actually question if what I am saying is in any way true or interesting or plausible or factual. I am just stating that if we draw ourselves too far away from what we so far call the norm, that's going to be a problem. And I don't. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, yeah, in those cases in particular, with those statements of sorts, what happens also is sadly, it feels like there is not much of an actual way out. It's just, yeah. And because we know that there are going to be these problems, we are going to mention them already before the society collapses on these things that we now can already identify as issues. And once they collapse, not only will they have to deal with the collapse of those structures, but also with the consequences of knowing that they supposedly are doing things wrong. Because those things that unavoidably, societally speaking, were going to collapse, or metaphorical or a spiritual way of associating it with the rest of us and our existence, will make it look like it matters a lot more than what we can ever say, maybe, even. So, yeah, it's. I don't know. I get the idea. I get the idea once again. The idea itself is the Kali Yuga, how it is going to be a bad thing and blah blah blah. That's understandable so far. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to be fully satisfied with those parts of the reading. I think the indoctrination and whatnot that you must have had before going through this one book probably makes it a lot more of a good read. Sorry. Well, I mean, yeah, also a good ride itself because otherwise, I think at least once every five um, cantos, this in some way, even if never unavoidably stating it directly, in some way the message becomes, yeah, and you are going to have the tools for salvation and whatnot. You should come and believe in us and give us your time and such. And to some degree, it's understandable. To some other, it's such a disgrace, I think, man. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, continuing. Canto 190. Markandeya Samasya Parava continue. So I should probably learn something actually. Let me try to do that. Please and thank you. Okay. Sorry. We're so back. I was sort of actually needing a lot of water and I didn't even realize. Anyway. Canto 190. Markandeya Samasya Parava continued. Markandeya continues. Having annihilated thieves and bandits, Kalki will, at a great horse sacrifice, make a gift of the earth to the Brahmanas and, having established again the Sanatana Dharma ordained by the self-created one, illustrious Kalki of the sacred deeds will retire into a mystic forest. The people of this world will emulate whatever he does, and when the Brahmanas have finally rid the earth of criminals and sinners, prosperity will sprout everywhere. The countries of the earth will be subjugated one after the other, and then that tiger among Brahmanas, Kalki, will shed his deer skins, lances, and ridents, and roam the world, adored wherever he goes by the great sages, showing his reverence for them. While doing away with sinners of every kind, Kali will kill the evil ones amid righteous cries like, "Oh, Father! Oh, Mother! Oh, Son!" Mahabharata, when sin has been rooted out and Dharma re-established at the beginning of the Kreta Yuga, men will begin to observe true religious rites once more. In the second Krita Yuga that sets in, lush gardens, ponds, large tanks, temples, yagnasalas, and centers of teaching devoted to the study of Brahmanical lore will reappear and flourish everywhere. Ceremonial rituals and sacrifices will be performed. Brahmanas will return to the ways of goodness and honesty, and the Bihas, the three twice born Varnas, will once again devote themselves to austerities and become true munis. The asramas of rishis, hitherto filled with Baal men, will become homes to men devoted to the truth. The people will begin to live honorable lives in perfect dharma. All seed sown in the ground will sprout, and every kind of crop will grow all year round. Men will be charitable and observe stern vratas, and the Brahmanas, devoting their lives to meditation and sacrifice, will be pure hearted and always happy. The sovereigns of the earth will rule their kingdoms with Dharma. In the Kreta Yuga, Brahmanas will adhere to their sixfold duties to study, teach, perform sacrifices, officiate at sacrifices performed by others, and to give and receive charity. Kshatriyas will devote themselves to acquiring strength and performing feats of prowess. Vaisyas will till the land and engage in honest trade, and Sudras will occupy themselves in serving the other three castes or castes. Also, the question will be exactly, yeah, the gap between what we find nowadays or what is being what we find nowadays compared to what is being described here, physical traditions, unavoidably. I can try to say why, but obviously it depends from the perspective of where is the large gap. Also, there is another explanation with that, like, yeah, we are supposedly already living a Kali Yuga, so we are in a bad time actually, not in a good time. But yeah, the point itself is it's a complicated matter, I guess. It's unavoidably we are going to have differences so far from what is being described. But yeah, it's it will be it will make sense anyways. Give me give me a second, and after that I will try to say it then. These, O Yudhishthira, are the ways of the Karita, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yugas. I have now told you everything about the Yugas. I have also told you, O son of Pandu, the span of each of them. So, you know all that I do, pertaining to the past and the future, as narrated by Vayudeva in his Purana, which is what revered, revered, revered by the wisest sages. My immortality has allowed me to see many times the weird life and death of the world, and all that I have seen and know, I have shared with you. No, glorious one, with your brothers, listen to something else I have to say to clear any doubts you may have about Dharma. You should always focus your soul on virtue, because Rahan, a man of high principles, attains bliss in his lifetime and after. Anagha, listen also to these other propitious words. Never humiliate a Brahmana, for an angry Brahmana can destroy the three worlds with a curse. Hearing Markandeya's words, taking of the Gurus, Yudhishthira of the great intellect and radiant luster, says to the illumined sage, "O Muni, by what code shall I live? If I want to protect my subjects, and how should I conduct myself so that I do not stray from the dharma of Kshatriya?" Markandeya says, "Be merciful to all creatures and devote yourself to their welfare. Love all creatures and scorn none. Speak only the truth. Be humble. Keep your senses under control and always concern yourself with the protection of your people. Be ethical. Abjure sin and worship your ancestors and the gods. If you have been guilty of wrongdoing from ignorance or carelessness, give charity to wash away your sins. Renounce arrogance and vanity. Clasp humility and goodness to you. Gain control over all the earth. Rejoice and be happy. This is the virtuous life. What I have told you was true in the past and holds good for the future. There is nothing of the past or the future that you do not know. Therefore, child, do not let your hardships shake you. The wise are never crushed by time's trials and persecutions. Mahabaho, even these Wargavasis, the heaven dwellers, are not impervious to time. Kala afflicts all the created. Sinless, do not doubt the truth of what I have told you. If you let doubt enter your heart, your high mindedness will be diminished. Enter what Bharata Rishabha. You are born into the illustrious family of the Kurus, and should do as I have told you, in thought, word, and deed. Yudhishthira says, Brahmanarishta, I will do as you command and live by the wisdom that you have given me, in words so pleasing to hear. Devadeva, of avarice and lust I have known, and no fear, pride or vanity. Lord, I shall keep Dharma close and do whatever you have told me to. Having listened to the enlightened Markandeya, the Pandavas and Krishna, wielder of the bow Saranga, all those bulls among Brahmanas, and the others that are there, are filled with joy, having heard hallowed words of great antiquity from the Muni. They are full of wonder. Okay, Canto 1 190. And so I do not want to actually boast in that sense, but brother, those were like 7 pages or so, incredibly long. I hate those incredibly long cantos, but we made it. We made it. Very good. Very good. Very good. Ah, bro. What's up? Mucho texto, cabrón. Anyway, let me. Where do we even start with all of this? I guess, yeah. Let me say it like this. I don't know. I think one of the main issues, or not issues, one of the main realities with reading stuff of this sort is unavoidably we have to always remember we are prone to talking about only what we know. It's quite hard for anyone to actually imagine stuff out there that might not align with other already created semi fantasies of the current world in which we find ourselves existing. It's hard to not have any other thing inform what you're saying. What's the point of this? And in cases like this one, I am pretty sure that what we are seeing is not much more than. You can even go as far as to say, oh yeah, they were literally recording them as they were speaking, setting them in stone at a light speed, or I don't know, writing down what they were saying at light speed. Even if you say that, it doesn't make the argument itself over. But they are being subjected to their scenes, to their previous experiences and whatnot. Because of that, already there is some degree of involvement with everything else. And I don't know, I think it's understandable. In itself, it's understandable that it is hard to properly compare to what we have now. But also, I think this is a proper time to just remind that, yeah, sadly, we're not the same cultures. No matter how much we want it, we are not the same cultures, sadly. So it's quite hard to find the proper equipment there for the things that we experience here, so to speak. And the same thing also is what they could say of us. We don't do things in the same way that they do, so if they come here, they find many other mistakes and whatnot. So yeah, there are gaps, there are many gaps, but for their systems it works. And not only it works as in, oh yeah, it suffices, but rather it is the norm that things are just like that. So yeah, I am good with that, yes. Or I'm not really feeling anything bad due to that. That's what I was trying to say. Anyways, the conclusion itself of the paragraph of the canto, I think the real point is, besides our Kyoto problems, there is always something to look forward to this whole hope of, oh yeah, when the next, I think it is Kreta Yuga, restarts itself, things are going to go towards a good direction. And yeah, this idea of even already knowing who is going to be the next king and how is that king going to be and whatnot, all of that is interesting. But I don't think it's fully capable of explaining all the stuff that we see here. I think so. I don't know. Yeah, no. I I cannot really point at anything here. I don't think. Yeah, at best I can say probably I am missing it, but I don't find any particular, as improper or general type of preposition being made on what I remember having read. Let me, just in case, let me analyze it rapidly. I mean, yeah, it also has that part of, and this is how you are a proper person and whatnot. That all of that is still just rites of passage and ways of interpreting the world. pertaining particularly to them and to these roles of existence and whatnot. Yeah, no, no, no. I don't think. It sounds like a good canto. If you hear the amount of bases, you can say that probably it is a good canto because most of the best cantos are incredibly long. But it's not really close. This one, it's full of yeah, may, perhaps no, and that's not much really, and that is that makes this canto in itself very boring, I guess. Or not boring as in, oh wow, yeah, I would have rather not read it. No, it's very shallow, let's say. That's a more proper term, I guess. It's very, very shallow. But yeah, anyways, let me continue. Canto 191. Markandeya Samasya Parva continued. Hanamehaya said, O Valsampayana, mighty Pauranika, I beg you, relate in full the greatness of Brahmanas, just as Markandeya told it to Pandu's sons. Valsampayana said, the eldest son of Pandu asks Markandeya, tell us more of the greatness of Brahmanas. Markandeya says, listen, O king, to how the Brahmanas conducted themselves in ancient times. In Ayodhya, there was once a king in the Ikshvaku dynasty named Parikshit. One day, Parikshit went hunting and was in pursuit of a deer, which led him deep into the forest, far from human habitation. Tired after the long ride, hungry and thirsty, he saw a pool in the dark, dense jungle in which he found himself. He led his horse up to it and refreshed himself in his mount. Then he laid some lotuses, fibers, and stems on the ground by the side of the pool and sat on them. While he rested there, he heard melodious strains of music and wondered where the music came from and who sang, as he had not seen any evidence of people near the pool. The king then saw a most beautiful maiden gathering flowers and singing. She came before him, and he asked her, Blessed one, who are you, and to whom do you belong? She replied, I am Kanya. And the king said, Will you be mine? The maiden answered, I will agree only if you promise me one thing. The king asked what it was, and the girl said, Promise me that you will never make me cast my eyes on water. The king agreed, saying, So it shall be. And he married her and knew her with profound rapture. Later, as he sat quietly with her, his soldiers arrived in that place and, seeing their king, stood surrounding him. The king was happy to see his men and, escorted by them, he rode home with his new bride in a grand chariot. On arriving at his capital, he secluded himself with her, completely obsessed. Even those closest to the king could not get an audience with him or speak to him. His chief minister asked the woman who attended on the royal couple, What goes on here? And the woman replied, The queen is a Devi of unparalleled beauty. The king married her with a promise that she will never look at water, and he is joyful with her. On hearing this, the minister had a forest created, full of trees with a profusion of flowers and fruits. And on one side of it, in a secluded place, he had a large pond dug and filled with water as sweet as nectar. He had the pool covered with a net of pearls. One day, he managed to see the king privately and said to him, "There is a fine banana with no water in it. Enjoy yourself there." The king took him at his word and went into the forest with his adored wife, and they sported together in that delightful place. Tired and spent with love making, hungry and thirsty, the king went into an arbor of fragrant madhabi creepers that he saw nearby. Entering that bower with his beloved, he saw a pond full of water that was transparent and bright as nectar. The king sat on its bank with her and encouraged her to bathe in that lovely pool. At his word, she plunged into the water, but then she did not surface again. The frantic kid dove in and sought her under the water, but he found no trace of her. He ordered the waters of the tank drained, and at the bottom, sitting at the lip of a hole in the ground, was a frog. The king was furious when he saw the frog, and issued a dreadful edict against their species. "Let every frog in my kingdom be killed. Anyone who wants an audience with me must come with a tribute of dead frogs." When frogs began to be killed everywhere, the terrified creatures told their king what had happened. The king of the frogs assumed the appearance of a sadhu and came to Parikshit of Ayodhya. He said, "Oh king, do not let anger rule you. Instead, being kind to grace. It is not right that you kill innocent frogs." The king of the frogs, in Sadhu's guise, chanted in a low voice, "Unfathomably glorious, slay not the frogs. Pacify your wrath. The ardent punya of ignorant souls will diminish. Swear you will renounce your wrath against frogs. Why do you sin? Slaying these creatures serves no purpose." King Parikshit, who was broken-hearted because of the banishment of his wife, whom he had loved so dearly, answered the Frog King, "I will not forgive the frogs. I will kill them. The wretched frog swallowed my wife, and all frogs deserve death at my hand. Do not intercede on their behalf, Lardung One." Hearing Parikshit's words, the king of the frogs said in a voice filled with pain, "Be gracious, O king. I am Ayu, the king of the frogs. Your wife was my daughter, Susobhana. What she did to you was not dharma. She has deceived many kings in the same way." The king said to him, "I desire her. Give her to me." The king of the frogs then bestowed his daughter on Parikshit with the injunction that she wait upon and serve him. She said angrily to her, "You have deceived many kings, and because of your sin, your children will disgrace themselves by being disrespectful to Brahmanas." Regaining her, Parikshit was so overwhelmed by infatuation that he felt as if he had conquered the three worlds. He bowed down to the king of the frogs and worshipped him. Crying for joy, he said, "Truly have I been blessed." The king of the frogs bid his daughter farewell and retired to where he had come from. Time went by, and King Parikshit and his queen had three sons, whom they named Sala, Dal, and Bala. In due course, the king installed the eldest of them on the throne, and, setting his heart on Tapasya, retired into the forest. One day, Sala was out hunting One day, when Salah was out hunting, he saw a deer and pursued it in his chariot, taking guard his Sarati to go faster. But the charioteer said to his king, "It is pointless chasing that deer. You cannot catch it. If your chariot had been drawn by horses of Tebami breed, you could have overtaken it." The young king said, "On pain of death, tell me about Bami horses." The charioteer became alarmed. He was afraid of the king, but on the other hand, he was more frightened of Bamadeva's curse and would not tell the king anything. The king lifted his sword and said to him, "Tell me now, or I will kill you." Fear overcome him, and Sarati said, "The Bami horses belong to Bamadeva. They are swift as the mind." Immediately, the king ordered him to take him to Bamadeva's asrama. And when they arrived there, he said to Darishi, "Holy One, I am in pursuit of a deer that I wounded. You must help me catch up with it by giving me a pair of Bami horses." Darishi replied, "I will give you my pair of Bami horses, but you have achieved when you have achieved your purpose, you must return my horses to me." The king took those horses and, taking his leave of the rishi, pursued the deer in his chariot now drawn by Bami steeds. After he left the hermitage, he said to his charioteer, "Brahmanas do not deserve to possess hermitages. What? Brahmanas do not deserve to possess such horses. We need not return these two to Bamadeva." He now easily overtook the deer, slew it, and returning to his capital, stabled those horses in his palace. Meanwhile, the rishi reflected, "The prince is young. Having obtained two excellent steeds, he rides them happily and will not return them to me. What a pity." After a month elapsed, he said to one of his disciples, "Go, Atreya, and say to the king that if he has finished with the Vami steeds, he shall return them to me." Atreya went to the king and spoke to him as if he had been instructed, and the king replied, "These horses, jewels of great value, deserve to be owned by a Kshatriya and not a Brahmana. What need do Brahmanas have of horses? Return in peace." Atreya went back and told his Acharya what had happened, and horses, and Bamadeva was enraged. He went himself to the king and demanded that his horses be returned to him. The king refused, and the Rishi Bamadeva said, "Bhumipala, give me back my Bami horses. You have used them to accomplish a task which was otherwise impossible for you. Oh, Kshatriya, do not break both Brahmana and Kshatriya Dharma and invite death to yourself by Varuna's course." The king answered, "Mamadeva, this pair of excellent and docile bulls are suitable animals for a Brahmana like you. Oh, Rishi, you are great indeed. Take them. You can ride them to any place you choose. What need do you have of horses when the Vedas themselves would carry a saintly man like you?" Mamadeva said, "O king, the Vedas do indeed carry ones like us, but that is in the hereafter. In this world, animals like my Bami horses carry me, and like me, and others as well." The king said, "Let 4 donkeys carry you, or 4 mules of the best kind, or even 4 horses that are swift as the wind. Take any of these. These Bami horses, however, deserve to be owned by a Kshatriya, except that these are not for you." Vamadeva said, "O king, stern bows have been ordained for Brahmanas. This I swear, that if I have lived in our servants, 4 dreadful Rakshasas, their bodies like iron, will hunt and kill you, and bury you under lances after cutting your body into 4 parts." The king said, "Bamadeva, these soldiers of mine, armed with bright spears, know that you are a Brahmana who wants to take a king's life. They will bring you and your disciples to your knees before me. Brahmadeva said, "Oh, king, when you receive my horses, you swore you will return them. You must give them back to me to save your life." The king said, "Hunting deer is not an occupation fit for Brahmanas, but I will not punish you for straying from your Swadharma. From this day, by obeying all your commands, I will, O Brahmana, attain bliss in Swarga. But the baby horses remain with me." Bamadeva said, "A Brahmana cannot be punished and taught." Okay. A Brahmana cannot be punished. No, it is. Ah, yeah, sorry. It's the old guy. Bamadeva said, "A Brahmana cannot be punished in thought, word, or deed. The man who learns that a Brahmana has strayed from his dharma does not achieve a lofty position in this world. But now meet your death." When Bamadeva said this, Rahan, four Rakshasas of horrible appearance with lances in their hands, set upon the king to kill him. The king cried out, "O Brahmana, even if all the descendants of the Ikshbakus, my brother Dala, and all these Vaishyas tell me to, I will not yield them estates to you, for then these men will be stripped of their dharma." Even as these words came out of his mouth, the Rakshasas killed King Sala, and the Lord of the Earth lay on the ground. The Ikshbakus installed Dala on the throne. The Brahmana Bamadeva went to the court of the Ikshbakus and addressed the new monarch. "O king, all the sacred books declare that men should give freely to Brahmanas. If you fear sin, give me the Bami horses without delay." Angrily did the king hear these words of Bamadeva's, and he said to his charioteer, "Bring me an arrow from my quiver, and one which is beautiful to look at and tipped with poison. Let it strike Bamadeva, and let him fall down in agony and be torn apart by your dogs." Bamadeva responded, "I know that you have a 10-year-old son named Sinakita by your queen. My word can command your arrow to kill the boy." Markandeya continues, "Rahan, the first arrow that the king shot flew to the inner apartments of the palace and killed the prince playing there. When Dala heard of this, he said, 'People of the Ikshvaku race, I will deliver you by killing this Brahmana and grinding him into the earth. Bring me another arrow of blazing energy, lords of the world. Witness my might." Vamadeva said, "This venomous arrow that you aim at me will not fly at Drupad. Why? You will not be able to release it from your bow." Now the king confessed, "O Ixbakus, I find I cannot lose the arrow I have in my hand, and I have failed to kill this Brahmana. Let Bamadeva live and be blessed with a long life." Bamadeva said, "You may expiate your sin of trying to take the life of a Brahmana by touching your queen with this arrow." King Dala did as he was told, and the king then and the queen, sorry, then said to the rishi, "Oh, Bamadeva, give me leave to teach this ignorant and foolish husband of mine daily, and give him wisdom. Old Biha, let me always wait upon and serve Brahmanas and thus acquire sacred realms after I die." Hearing the queen, Bamadeva said, Beautiful-eyed one, you have saved this royal race. Ask me for an exceptional boon, for I will grant whatever you ask for. Faultless one, rule over your clan and this great kingdom of the Ixmagus. The queen said, O lambent one, free my husband from his sin, and direct your mind to the well-being of his son and kinsmen. This is the boon I ask, Brahmanutama. The Muni said, Let us do, so be it. King Dala was extremely glad and, bowing in reverence, gave the Muni his bummy steeds, says Markandeya. That's Canto 191, I think. Brother, what? Are all cantos this incredibly long in this part? No, this is like only 3 pages long, actually. Finally. Ah, can you conclude anything out of that? I think the easiest observation is the narrative itself of, oh yeah, until some people, until they get what they want, they don't stop. I guess that's the sort of justification of the money doing a lot of magic to stay alive. It I don't actually. Yeah, I like others. I think it's a bad word to say, but I like other systems of magic and whatnot when the explanations make it be fully understandable with enough attention to details. But here, I don't like the way in which, oh yeah, any Brahmana has the power to just their word change the world entirely. I see it as something weird. I see it as something strange. I think so. But at least it works, so to speak. It gets to be understandable as a text, and after that, we can keep doing this sort of show of trying to see if anything else is being mentioned besides that. I think the message is obstinance, being an obstinate person and whatnot, as a bad quality of a person to possibly have. I think that's the biggest message so far in all of this. To be properly measured. In this case, it was the Kshatriyas or the Kshatriyas from the same family who all had the same issue and whatnot. And yeah, I get that to a basic level, but besides that, I'm pretty sure there are other things that also might be, in that same sense, important, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let me let me do one more canto, and after that, yeah, we are done for today. This one that is very short. Canto 192. Markandeya Samasya Parva continued. Vaisambhayana said, the rishis, the Brahmanas, and Yudhishthira then asked Markandeya, how did the Rishi Baka have such a long life? Markandeya says, the Raharishi Baka is a great Markandeya. The Raharishi Baka is a great tapasvin and was indeed blessed with long life. But do not ask why. Hearing this, O Maharata, Yudhishthira Dharmaraja and his brothers say to Markandeya, We have heard that Vaka, as well as Zalbia, both illumined souls, are immortal and that they, who are universally revered, are dear to the king of the Devas. We would like to hear about the meeting of Vaka and Indra, the story that is at once sad and happy. Tell it to us in brief. Markandeya says, when the great war between the Devas and the Asuras was over, Indra became sovereign of the three worlds. The clouds brought plentiful rain, and the people on earth enjoyed rich harvests. They became contented and lived virtuous, peaceful lives. Everyone lived according to their Dharma, at peace with each other and the world, and seeing serenity prevail, Indra, slayer of Bala, was filled with joy. Seated on his elephant Airavata, he of the 100 sacrifices surveyed his subjects. He looked at the rishis as ramas, at the sacred rivers, at prosperous towns and villages, at the plenitude of the countryside. He saw kings living by dharma, ruling justly over their subjects. He looked at tanks and reservoirs, wells, lakes, and pools full of water, beside which devout Brahmanas lived, keeping excellent vratas. And Indra came down to the felicitous earth, Rahan, and went to a Balesasarama set in a charming grove on the eastern shore. There, in that asrama, where many animals and birds lived, and they grew in profusion, Indra saw Baka, oversaw to see Indra. Baka received him worshipfully. He washed his feet with water, offered him arghya, spread a carpet for him to sit on, and served him fruit and roots to eat. While he was comfortably seated, the divine ruler of the immortals asked Baka, "Sinless money, you have lived for 100 years. Tell me, O Brahmana, what are the sorrows of those that are immortal?" Baka answered, saying, "Living with those one dislikes, separations from loved ones and good men, living amongst the wicked. These are the evils that the immortals have to bear. Among the worst sorrows they have to endure is the death of sons, wives, and more, relatives and friends, and the pain of dependence on others. In my opinion, there is nothing more pitiful than a poor man being insulted by a rich one. Other iniquities that the mortals have to witness are the acquisition of high status by those that do not have or deserve it, the loss of it by those that do, disharmony and discord, how the wealthy gain all that they want despite not having honor. Those that live forever have to see all this. O Lord of the 100 Yagnas, what can be sadder than the calamities and reverses experienced by Devas, Asuras, Gandharvas, Manavas, Nagas, and Rakshasas? Those of noble birth suffer by becoming subjects of the lowborn. The poor are humiliated by the rich. These are distressing conditions. The world is replete with such injustices. The foolish and the ignorant are cheerful and glad that learn, and the wise endure misery. There is so much sorrow and pain, and the deathless have to see it all, and they suffer. Indra said, "Blessed one, tell me, what are the joys that the immortals enjoy, which are also enjoyed by the gods?" Baka answered, "There is none happier than the man who cooks. Even a scanty meal in the 8th or 12th hour of the day, and the man who has no evil friends. True happiness belongs to one who does not eat too much or voraciously. The man who cooks even a few meager vegetables and fruits that he has earned through his own efforts and prepared in his own house. Such a man is worthy of respect. A man who eats food in another's house, given to him in contempt, does a despicable thing, even if the fare is rich. That is why the wise never touch the food of men that eat in another's house, like those of or Rakshasas. There is no better thing than for a good Brahmana to eat with what remains after feeding his guests and servants and offering food to his ancestors. No food is sweeter or more sacred. There is nothing more delicious or more sacred than food of which the first serving is given to a guest. Every mouthful of rice that the Brahmana eats after having served his guest is as blessed as giving away 100 cows, and will wash away whatever sins he committed in his youth. If a Brahmana sprinkles water over the one who serves him such food, the person is cleansed of his sins. After speaking of these and other matters with Baka, the lord of the Devas returns to Indraloka. Okay, that's Canto 192. I want to say skipping the conclusion, but man, is there a conclusion from all of this? I don't know. The easiest thing to say, oh yeah, men who know how to cook are good. Cooking has now become a desired quality, I guess. Good enough, basic enough. But yeah, it's it's understandable. I think so. It's understandable. The rest of the discussion is a lot simpler. It's just a lot of simpler exchanges of information more than anything else. I think even if it tries to be disguised as a very clever story, it has a lot of basic writing stuff on it. Almost like intentionally, I guess. I don't know. I I think at least it serves as a little bit more of context for other things. That's the easiest way to talk about it, I feel like. But even then, well, it's not really that much. Anyway, anyway. I almost did like 20 pages. Uh, I didn't have the other scene ready. Fuck. Okay, there we go. Post read at the very least. We did almost like 20 pages, so I'm happy with that. But man, I'm tired. I am I'm incredibly tired. So yeah, I will before doing anything else. I guess I will actually go to rest. So yeah, we did it. We analyzed a little bit, but I don't know, man. I think it's something weird. It's a text that could have a lot more on it, but it truly stays in a very superficial level in many cases. I have I think you have to give it a try and read it multiple times in many occasions to actually get what might be that second layer of meaning and whatnot. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. If nothing else, it's interesting. It's something worth analyzing, I guess. But yeah. Anyway, we have a lot more to keep analyzing in the future. So thanks for everything. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good life. Take care. Hydrate. Rest. Sleep. Work out. Work. Do stuff. I guess. Be happy. Be sad, be. Exist. That's a good compromise enough. So yeah, anyway, good night.